The dawn of the Renaissance was also the beginning of a deep social unrest. Successive famines had scorched the fields, making access to food nearly impossible for the poor. The streets of Strasbourg were dominated by the silence of hunger and tears, and this shadow of hunger descended heavily upon a society already burdened by the memory of the plague. Before anyone could understand what was happening, the streets emptied, leaving behind only bodies consumed by fear. As poverty engulfed the city, prayers rose from the churches. People were desperately seeking a sanctuary from divine wrath. And then one day, a woman named Frau Trophäa suddenly began to dance in the middle of the street. Another woman joined her. An uncontrollable urge was beginning to spread. On the cobblestone streets of Strasbourg, in front of the churches, poor and helpless bodies danced in an endless cycle. Women, men, silently going mad, while those watching could only feel with terror and helplessness. Strasbourg was now under the shadow of the dancing plague. Even under the dark light of the moon, there was a strange rhythm in the squares. Dance seemed to be a path of escape, of salvation, of rebellion. The chaos grew. The clergy did not yet know what to do. And the people continued to dance without cease, against their will. Even the sacred walls of the churches could no longer resist this mysterious plague. Dance had seized their souls, even in God's house. Healers and apothecaries were bewildered and powerless, bodies battling insomnia, exhaustion, and an unknown curse spun with a final effort even under the sunlight. People were wasting away before everyone's eyes. Clergymen prayed to end the epidemic, trying to exorcise the devil from within people with holy rituals. The nobles, meanwhile, continued their feasts at their lavish tables, unable to move beyond scornful whispers about what they heard. But when the servants in their kitchens began to struggle with the dancing plague, the palace, too, would start to receive its share of this curse. Work was no longer anyone's concern. While their poverty persisted, all they had left was dance. Herbs and new findings were the last hope for a cure, but the mystery of the plague left even the wise men powerless. They eventually theorized that the dancing plague was caused by mushrooms gathered by the peasants. But this was never proven. Even the fortunate women who could cook in their own homes couldn't resist dancing for a moment, and the fatigue in their bodies steadily grew. The people had gone mad, and this madness had spread thoroughly through the lower classes. As deaths increased alongside the dance in the rat-infested streets, the madness watched from the palace windows began to deeply unsettle the nobles. The church saw the plague as a divine curse, holding confession ceremonies to save the sinners they caught. A desperate woman's lost soul was being sought at that holy table. Yet, the place they needed to look was entirely different. As Strasbourg was dragged into the unknown in the grip of the dancing plague, the city's leaders finally convened. Among the theories proposed, the most bizarre one was more dance. With this strange decision by the authorities, musicians were brought to the fields and squares. As violins and flutes began to play, the number of dancers grew even more. It was mass hysteria. While searching for a new glimmer of hope, a priest clung to superstition, believing the dancing plague could be driven away with red shoes. And finally, people gathered in the square at St. Vitus Cathedral in Prague. Days passed. Unfortunately, the promised cure left behind only the silence of death, and Frau Trophäa, who started this madness, also bid farewell to her endless dance in the peace of the ancient forest. Was it the result of mushrooms or ergot fungus in the rye bread, or was it mass depression caused by stress and anxiety? No one knows, but in the end, the dancing fever subsided. The epidemic continues centuries later in other arenas. While people, to escape chaos and oppression, have become slaves to consumption, wasteful feasts, and technology, perhaps their bodies are free, but their minds are captured by a new plague, a modern state of trance, tied by invisible strings. And amidst all this false abundance, the dream of a single morsel of bread behind the colorful shop windows that some people still choose not to see.